I'm playing Blacksmiths. Zach is playing Shepherds. These are my cards. Let's see what I choose. Well, after we get through the cards, I'll talk about game plan for a little bit. Okay. Well, that's interesting. I didn't realize when it was streamed it doesn't show the deck. It's something I never noticed. So I kind of feel like I have to choose a 7 when I get it. I wouldn't always choose both 7s if I got both of them, but I think there's basically no reason not to take at least one 7, and I think you would usually take 2 as well, just because just being absolutely certain that if you're ahead in momentum, you can win influence or win initiative, regardless of how far ahead you are, is a really important thing in this game. You guys listening, you probably know that. I also really like Play the Crowd because it's a +6/+0 with no negative effect. Sort of used to the +6s from the last deck being really bad, like having like really strong negative effects. So the fact that this one isn't is really nice. I so far I don't think I've ever benefited from the snapshot thing because obviously I don't play a lot of goal guilds, but if you do benefit from it, that's cool. But I think just on its stat line and not having any penalties, it's like worth a take. So I'm pretty sure I keep that one. I don't take. Oh yeah, I forgot this. This hand is actually pretty straightforward against Shepherds. So the 2 on the right are the ones I don't take. Hit them where it hurts and pass out the orange slices. So you don't take hit them where it hurts because they don't really have any armor. I mean, they literally do. If you bring Donner, they have armor, but it's one model. And then you could use it on someone when you're going to kill Ram at the top of turn, but that's such a niche thing that I would never plan on it. That effect is really good when you are fighting a team that has armor on most or all of their models. It's just like a very strong attacking swing if you don't have an atomical on your model that's hitting them, but it's meaningless against like Shepherds and farmers and stuff. And then pass out the orange slices I didn't take because I didn't expect to take a lot of chip damage from this team. I think that they get most of their tickets through pushing stuff out or just herder killing, like last firsting one model, or even just killing one model straight up if she has crowdouts and stuff. And so, I mean, pass out the orange slices is still fine if you're trying to protect one model specifically, but it's not really great. It's mostly good. It's like best use cases obviously against guilds that do a lot of fucking AoE damage or whatever. It's good against Blacksmiths actually, I think, but that's not it. So its other 5 cards are good to fine, or good to great. I think Punching Bag. This is a matchup where I think Punching Bag is really valuable because Shepard's damage is really predictable and straightforward, which is both a plus and a minus for the team. So Tough Hide is a really good it's a really good way to mitigate that and to like be very clear about what types of what model you're going to lose on a given activation, basically. A -1 card is always a tough sell for Blacksmiths because since they have base 12 influence, additions of influence and subtractions of influence will mean more proportionally for them than a 13 influence team, or like a sort of variable influence team like Farmers and Shepherds. But I think in this case it was warranted, and I actually think I got pretty good use out of Tough Hide in this game. And if the 2 cards that I dropped weren't the 2 on the right, if there were like 2 other options, I might not have taken Punching Bag. If there were like options to get more plus influence cards, I might have considered it, but with the cards I was dealt, I think it's pretty automatic that I take Punching Bag here. So aggressive defense is just good, and Break Out the Knives is very good, and I feel like there's at least one turn where I can leverage that probably going into this, because goal-scoring teams often run momentum low, even if they literally have good momentum generation. Shepherds do have decent momentum generation, in my opinion, but on a turn where they're extending themselves to go for a goal, they're almost certainly going to run low, and Blacksmiths can run pretty hot on momentum. Okay. This is like the least efficient way to do this. It's so goofy. Okay. Draft. I'm not going to do the draft in order. Maybe I'll do that for like future analysis streams, I guess, if I do this again, but I don't really think the order is particularly meaningful here. So he took the box 6, which I think is correct. Or I guess it's technically the box 7. Shepherds, I think it's really important that he brings Shearer. I've sort of spoken ad nauseum, and probably if you're watching this, you've seen me talk about this before. But I think that like they have basically like they just have 5 locked slots, which are Herder Babe, obviously, and then Hook and Crook, Ram, and Lamb. Hook and Crook because they're amazing models and they're like your output other than Herder. Ram and Lamb because they're your whole economy. And Ram has a ton of positional control, and Lamb is very passive, but has a really strong upside, which is kind of unique for a planter in Shepherds and Farmers, in that if he's given some card outs so he can make like 3 attacks safely, he's going to get 3 momentum and 3 good effects out of them. Either he's going to get harvests, or he's going to weak point something if that matters, or he's going to heal somebody once at least. So he's a really interesting planter in my opinion, just in that he actually has sort of like a beneficial upside, whereas planters usually don't do that. They kind of just have the thing that their attack does and the thing that their attack might do if you get lucky, which is like only slightly better. But Lamb, I think, is really good with a little bit of setup. I think he shares that with Millstone is the other one that I think of like that, just because her damage gets actually pretty solid if she has gang ups. Anyway, so then you have this last slot. Shearer is like solid, but not an amazing striker, and solid, but not amazing at chasing down the ball. And then you have Honor and Bushel, and I think you would take Bushel sometimes if you receive, just because you can do the I'm open thing to like move Herder really far while keeping the ball on Herder. And also, if you needed to lock down the ball against another scoring team, Bushel would be the best way to do that because she's a 5/0 close control, which is just like sort of you throw the stats at the enemy goal scoring team. And then Honor is a way to get more economy at the cost of like drastically reduced output and sort of a difficulty in actually like spending your economy efficiently. And she also has like some cute interactions with Ram and the dogs in terms of her legendary, which I don't want to discount. I think those are legitimate uses of her. But I think in general, Shearer is like I think Shearer is the default. Oh yeah, and like Pete is saying here in chat, Cocksure is really good, and I think it might end up being that Honor is like the reason you take her mostly is Cocksure, just because you need like for her to have like a good first turn activation, she needs to be able to tank a knockdown or whatever the hell it is, or just like walk through a fire ray or something. Man, remember when this game had such small threat ranges compared to now that like walking through fire was a serious deterrent that might throw off your entire turn 1? Now people just like don't give a shit. That's hilarious. But yeah, I don't really think you ever take Vet Honor receiving, or at least almost never, right? Because it also makes you much worse at retrieving the ball, which is kind of a disaster. Because you really want to control the ball early. Anyway, so that's his draft. My draft, I did Hearth Captain, to be clear, when you're looking at these models. So I think Hearth Captain has a lot of upside here. I think her legendary is really strong in a fight against Shepherds. I think your apprentices getting tough, or getting 2-inch melee and instruction on a counterattack or on their first attack, especially if it's a charge, is really strong and sort of like allows you to take much bigger advantage of the bad defensive stats on Shepherds. I think I would consider Ferris receiving as the captain, and I would also consider Fairright kicking as the captain now. I was kicking at the start of this game. I should have said that out loud, in case you haven't watched the video. But I think that I like the Hearth draft here, though. I think the thing that I would change in retrospect here is I would switch Alloy to Bolt. So you guys, if you watch this video, if you watch the game, or watching it now, you'll see that Alloy does decent work, and there's a point where he gets a relatively crucial kill. It's like sort of it's a kill that is not hard to get in a sort of mathematical sense, but in terms of positioning is difficult to get, and Alloy gets that in a way that I don't think most other models would be able to. In fact, I know most other models would not be able to in the guild. So Alloy did do good stuff, and I also could have used him better for sure, as we'll talk about also. But I think on balance, Alloy should have been Bolt. So there's sort of this there's this issue that you run into with Blacksmiths with allocation, where you have, like, say, 2 really good apprentices that are good at hitting stuff and that you want to set up. And in this case, that'd be Cinder and Cast. Cinder and Cast are good at setting up each other. They're also very good at receiving buffs from the masters that I've taken. Quickfoot is good on them, on whoever I choose to kick with. And in some other circumstances, both of Hearth's buffs are great on Cast, and Instruction is great on Cinder, since Cinder wants to charge anyway. And then Tooled Up is, of course, great. Both Cast and Cinder have ways to turn Tooled Up into +5 damage rather than the +4 that you would expect, which is really exciting. And Furnace and Cinder both set up Cast with the Fire, and the reduction of armor, that doesn't matter in this matchup. So you have these 2 models that in average turns you want to give 4 if you think that they can interact with stuff and think they're not going to die. You have 5 influence left after that, assuming no changes to your influence. And you can do like a couple on Ally, which is what I end up doing a lot of the time. And Ally will do decent stuff with attacks, but running into 2 or 3 influence total for your masters I think is a really tough spot. I think that in general you want to have one apprentice who can do something for free almost every turn, and I did not draft for that here. I think so Alloy did more getting his influence in this game than Bolt would have if Bolt got no influence. But if Bolt was getting no influence, that means the Masters would get more influence. And Knockdown ended up being a really important thing in this game. I think it's obviously important in the game of Guild Ball in general. It's clearly very important against Shepherds, because Shepherds can benefit from pack mentality from Babe, and also have bad defensive stats, but good counterattacks if they get to make them. So Knockdown kind of locks down Shepherds and lets you exploit their bad defensive stats without having to worry about counterattacks, worrying about dodges, blah, 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 blah. So I think since Bolt not only does something for free, but the thing that he does for free is add a knockdown, or he could do pass stuff with, if I have the ball, I think that would just be dramatically better. You get more influence on the Masters on an average turn, and Masters are much better at turning influence into knockdowns. And then Bolt gets to do his thing for free, which is usually a knockdown. So I just think that I should have drafted that way. Bolt is probably a lock if I receive, but since I was kicking, I thought I'd do Alloy. The other thing about Alloy is that there's a lot of matchups and a lot of circumstances where him just being anatomical on a stick is like a really big difference, because he can be anatomical and then apply Dirty Knives to someone, which sort of works as a way to open up models for your non-anatomical models to hit them. But 2 things. 1, I have a bunch of Searing Strike in this list anyway, so anatomical is sort of not useful. But 2, much more importantly, as you will have guessed, the Shepherds don't have armor, which we already discussed. So the fact that I've loaded up on both Searing Strike and, like, anatomical on a stick is kind of goofy. I don't really, like, there's a lot of text on Alloy's card that isn't really doing anything in this game, and that feels like a lot of missed opportunity for me. Okay. So, that's a draft. Should have been Bolt, but here we are. Kickoff here. I do a short kickoff because I kind of want him to have to, like, bring a model to me and sort of give me something to hit if I get a chance to have Cinder to come up and hit something with Impale. And I also kind of want stuff to be as close as possible, because I think there's a pretty good chance that he scores a goal during turn 1, and that means that I can have Cinder go last and, like, dodge with the ball and then charge somebody maybe. That kick is pretty darn good for me, I won't lie. I get a good scatter there. Let's see. Oh. Let's see if we can look at this allocation. Looks like, okay, so I allocate for my buffs on my apprentice or my masters. I kicked with Cast. I think you can kick with Cast or Cinder here. The thing I like about Cast kicking here is that I'm expecting him to try to kidnap my model with the dogs. It feels like a pretty standard opening play for Shepard so far. I don't really see a reason not to do that most of the time. And if you give Instruction to Cast, then her first attack can be the 2 and a shield throw, regardless of how many results she gets, because it's on 2, right? So it basically means that on her first attack, she gets a 4-inch dodge automatically, regardless of what you roll, regardless of how many dice you're down. So unless he gets you into a real sad triangle situation where Cast literally can't move, she should be able to escape that kind of kidnapping situation. which is great. I think that's really good insurance against the sort of standard opening play that we're seeing from Shepard so far. Anyway, so for my allocation, Cass gets a full stack because she's my kicker. I allocate for Quickfoot, Instruction, use this, and Tooled Up. Basically the only... Oh, and then I give Cinder 3 so that she can pass and then charge if he gives me the ball to do so, or if not, then she can sprint and impale. Or she could just charge and make another attack if somebody gets within 10 of her, but I'm sort of not expecting to do that. Two things here. One, the only real debate on this... what am I trying to say? On this allocation is whether the third influence on Cinder should actually go to Furnace to give one at a time lads to cast. I think that's interesting because again we're expecting a kidnap, right? But with cast with Instruction being able to get out of jail free sort of automatically, I don't really think that one at a time lads is actually that useful. The funny thing is I ended up in a spot where cast activation ended up in a spot where it would have been nice to have one at a time lads because I really had to be very careful about my positioning in a way I sort of didn't want to be. In order to make sure that she got her full tech, but it wouldn't have been a huge difference anyway. The other thing is that looking at this now, and this is not something I realized until just now, but so cast is up very far, and it's a 7/9 move. It's going to be 2-inch melee this turn. It's obvious from Zach's positioning, from Zach's placement, that he's going to do the push all your models up with Ram thing. I mean, it probably won't be literally all the models, but Hook, Crook, and Herder are going to go forward, right? That's like super obvious, straightforward, basic stuff. So since that means that cast is almost certainly going to be able to reach people, and almost certainly going to be able to reach people on a jog, there's actually no reason to quickfooter here. So Ferris should have quickfooted Cinder, so that Cinder is threatening 12, so that she can probably interact if people come that far up, especially once I see where the ball goes, because I'm like looking at this and I'm like, oh, he either has to spend some resources to stay far away from me, or he's just going to be close enough that that they'll be within 12 inches of Cinder, so Cinder can charge and make some attacks. So that was a huge missed opportunity that I'm just now noticing that I didn't think about at all at the end of the game. Probably because this game took 1,000 years and I was dying by the end of it. Yeah, so that's an important thing to know when you're sitting on a apprentice, when you're kicking off with cast. Cast is already a 7/9 and is going to be given use this. You have an opportunity here with this deployment and against this enemy team that wants to get really up in your face really quickly, and against a player that I know wants to do that because I know that Zach likes to do that type of thing. I think like speeding up Cinder here is actually the right play. I think that could have been pretty juicy. That's a shame. All right. Shearer comes back. Gets the ball, passes it to Babe. First turn feels kind of straightforward until we get to the cast activation. All right, so just to recap, I've got all my fucking buffs on cast. She's sitting in cover in Sentinel, so she's kind of hard to hit from a defensive position, but that doesn't really matter because the dogs can diciously pull her, right? Haven't gone with Cinder, haven't gone with Alloy. Alloy's just probably going to position in the cover. There's no reason not to do that. The only thing to care about is to be within 6 inches of Hearth, though, again, really doesn't actually need to do that because I'm not getting anything from the anatomical. I might get something from the kick, but that's pretty much it. So Arsenal from Alloy, not really important. I sort of by reflex spent too much time thinking about it, and I could have saved some seconds on the clock if there was a clock in this game. Okay, so here it looks like this is where I start measuring out my cast activation. Okay, so I got greedy here. My excuse is that it's a practice game, but even in a practice game, I should have known that this just wasn't going to work without a spike. What I'm trying to go for here is cast killing both dogs. I didn't think too hard about it before I went in. I thought a little bit about it, and I thought it was possible, and I was right. It is possible, but it's possible in sort of the sort of kind of worst way. It's basically possible she hits her printed 6 on her first attack, or well, not any attack, but she's only gonna really get a chance to do that on her first attack. That requires 4 4s out of 5, or 4 4s out of 6 if I bonus time it. And I'm saying 4 because she has instruction, so her first attack is gonna be +2 hits. that is not a good thing to rely on. And when I was doing this, I did not realize it's specifically required on hitting that very specific hit, that very specific amount. So that was a stupid plan. Once we commit to it, we do our best, but it doesn't come to bear. So I do get a fuck ton of damage on the dogs here, and I get one of them down. Let's just skip to the end of that activation. And I think I also get a shield glare on Herder. Yeah, I do. Okay, so like that's basically all you could expect from this activation. And if I had gotten both of the dogs, that would have just been a stupid lucky break for me. Cass gets back into Sentinel, which is nice, because she's a broken model and she dodges very far. But this is, like, not worth it. It's first of all not worth it because I only get 1 point. I don't really get a lot of tempo or anything. The dog gets stronger or whatever, which is, like, not a huge deal, but it's still kind of annoying. It could be a huge deal in other circumstances, but it isn't a huge deal here, is what I'm trying to say. The reason this really sucks, though, is not because of the result of the activation, but because... So, we talked about... Earlier, I talked about how kicking with Cass seems dope into this matchup because with instruction she can dodge 4 inches away from wherever she is regardless of how many hits she gets, right? So she, like, quote-unquote gets around the protective instinct on Babe, she makes it really hard to jail her, does all that stuff. You will note, astute listeners will note, that requires me to go after the jailing has happened, not before it. So, even though this activation went okay, and, like, it's not, like, the worst set of results in the world, it threw away my main strength with this kicking model, which is that she's going to do stuff regardless of how jailed she gets by this very jail-y team, this very kidnap-y team. I've just, like, thrown that advantage away. And I basically just did it because I thought it would be cool if I killed both dogs, which is a stupid thing to think. So, really, this is, like... The way I executed the activation was fine. I think I did it. I think I made the right choices on all 4 attacks, given the dice that I got. But the whole idea of the activation is just wrong. So, let's see. What are all these? So, when we get to the part where Zach goes in on me with his stuff. I think he's thinking about this for a while. Yeah, okay. So I get pulled in. He gets disastrous dice. I get a counterattack away from the dog. Herder comes in. She's down to die. She's down to die from shield glare. She gets kind of disastrous dice too. I dodge away. Yeah. So this whole scenario. This is where this gets stupid. So I should be punished a lot harder for my turn 1. Like there's no question that this should have gone worse for me. Instead, we end up here, where... What was the momentum count at the end of that turn? Yeah, it was 2-0, so I burnt my momentum in order to keep Cast alive without taking too much damage. And I did that, but it means he can win initiative. So here's where I play... and I should underline again that I really should have been punished harder for this. Cast could have died, or... Zach could have scored a goal, and still having scored a goal, been up momentum, which would be definitely worse for me. They made a pretty disastrous decision turn 1, and I just got lucky. Which is, that's how Guild Ball goes. You have to be able to accept that in both directions, both good and bad, if you're playing a dice game and want to, not have high blood pressure. But it's something worth bearing in mind, that, the fact that I kind of got away with that without too much terrible stuff happening is not normal, I guess. Okay, so I go punching bag, knowing I'm going to lose momentum, or at least not wanting to contest it. And he goes pick up the pace. So punching bag allows me to keep Cast alive, basically. Herder could definitely still literally kill her, but it's kind of a pain in the ass. And since Herder's sitting on the ball, and she'll almost certainly use her entire clip to kill cast with Tough Hide. It really disincentivizes her to do that because she doesn't have a great place to go after this. She can just kind of back up, and that's okay. But I still think my fight is in a good spot here. Let's see what I allocate because I don't actually remember here. I put the +2 move on Alloy. We're going to come back to that, but I believe I was thinking like, oh, okay, this guarantees that I can get a snapback goal if I need it. And then, okay, so we get 6 on her, as you might imagine. Dog comes back on the field, somewhere up there. Okay, so this is sort of a frustrating allocation. Okay, 4 on Cinder, correct. At least 1 on Furnace, correct. We want Tough Hide. Tooled Up. Stuff on Hearth, correct. Hearth is really good at disrupting things. We want knockdown so we can kill stuff. 2 on Ally, 2 on Cast. Okay. So here's what I'm thinking. We're thinking Tough Hide makes Cast really hard to kill. Herder can still do it. May not, but can still. Does that mean we want to put 4 on Cast and lose it all if Herder just goes for that and then backs up? No, we don't like that. So we're going to compromise and put 2 on her. In retrospect, do we think that's a good idea? I don't think so. I actually think... So looking at his allocation and looking at how he's put... Not only has he put 6 on Herder, but he's put 4 on Shearer, all before seeing my allocation. That... And like none on the dogs, or maybe... No, yeah, none on the dogs. Well, anyway, definitely not 1 on the dog that actually matters, the one that's close to us. We're like looking at that and we're like, So he just wants to score goals. If Herder wants to score a goal and then Shearer wants to threaten a snap as an immediate second goal. That's what this allocation means. So with that in mind, Cass should be on 4 because the dogs aren't really threatening to kill her. If Herder goes for the kill when Cass is on 4 and misses it, it's an unmitigatable disaster for the Shepherds. If Herder goes for the kill on Cast, gets it in 6 attacks, it's bad for us, definitely. We're doing less, but he's still only at 2 points to our 1, and we look like we can maybe win we can, like, contest a fight anyway. I think this ends up still being kind of a tough spot for us, but I think... Yeah, I think it should have been more on Cast. It should have been at least 3 on Cast, maybe even 4 on Cast. The thing about Alloy's allocation here is that Alloy, he really only makes bank on that influence if he scores a goal. If he doesn't score a goal, what's he even there for? He's doing fuck all. Puts some Dirty Knives down. Who gives a shit? Dirty Knives is good, but yeah. This is why I really don't like the Ally draft. It's just, he's just sitting there taking influence from people who deserve it more. Okay. So I don't remember exactly what happens, but yeah, Herder makes some... Yeah, Herder misses a fucking attack. Herder hits an attack. Cast gets knocked down? Yeah. Herder hits an attack again. Yeah, Herder does some damage. See, this damage is like fake news, though, because Cass is not going to die to anybody else. So Herder's just trying to get momentum here. If Herder's pretending that she can do anything else, she's falsifying the report, especially when she misses an attack. Again, I got really lucky here. She measures out the movement. I think Zach decides that she has to be engaged by Hearth. Scores the goal. Ball goes out here. Let's check the chat right quick. Okay, cool. Alright, so Alloy, once again... Wait, how did Alloy get another influence? Did I reallocate... Oh, I dropped 1 from Cass. Oh, God, see, that's even worse. Alloy didn't need 3 to score a goal. Ugh. Oh, that's awful. Yeah, this allocation sucks so bad, dude. Oh, I hate this. At least 2 of those should be on Cast, and... Yeah, God, this sucks. This is one of those know thyself situations where it's like, Alex Bots has to know that in the future, Alex Bots will choose not to take this goal right away. And knowing that, past Alex Bots needs to allocate for a fight, because that is what future Alex Bots will want to do. So I could have taken a goal here. I don't end up taking a goal here. I don't end up taking a goal at all. Well, I try at one point. I try a couple times, but I don't end up taking this goal here when it's effectively automatic. We're just rolling the dice for the goal. So what I'm thinking here is we're looking at this. Zach fucked up his harvest taking and left Shearer without a harvest to immediately dodge off of. So we're looking at this and we're thinking, I can sit on the ball for a bit, because nobody's threatening the ball meaningfully. I think we skipped over it, but I measured that Lamb can't jog to control the ball. And the dogs don't have influence, so they can't add anything to their movement. And we also measured Ram, and even with impetus and the +2/+2 from the card, Ram can't get to the ball. So until Shearer has a harvest marker within 2 inches of him, the ball is safe for us, right? So we don't literally have to take the goal immediately, and I think it is a good call to wait as long as we can possibly before taking this goal. But I think we should take the goal. What I'm thinking here at the time is that, like, if I score a goal, he'll score another goal almost certainly with Shearer. He'll go up to 8 points to my 5 points, and then I have to fight from 5 to 12 without giving up another goal when he has Shearer and Herder alive, and I could probably get one of them into jail range by the end of this turn, and maybe, if I'm lucky, have the other one knocked out? No, not have the other one knocked down, because this allocation fucking sucks. I need more need more master influence. So that's the other thing, is that, like, we're looking at this, and if he stands up Herder, I probably don't have Shearer and Herder knocked down or threatened to be killed at the top of the turn. I probably get one of them, but not both. Yeah, so that really sucks. So that means the next turn I'm going to be on the back foot the whole turn. He's going to be at 8 points, gunning for the goal like a madman. And I'm not going to really have a lot of recourse except grinding it out as slowly as possible from 5 to 8 and then trying to score the goal at the top of a turn. So we're thinking about all that, and we're like, okay, can we deny the ball from him? Can we just make it so that he never gets that second goal, or he doesn't until much later in the game? And, I mean, we end up doing a decent job of that, but the toll it takes on our influence allocation, and the fact that basically the fact that it means we keep having to fucking give influence to Alloy, is really the part that swings the fight in Zach's favor in an unfortunate way. Then he has a pretty strong influence advantage here, which also sucks. I think the other thing is that I probably underestimated Ram's ability to just, like, rearrange models in ways that makes it really hard to, like, straight up deny Shearer moving straight towards Alloy with a dodge later in this turn. Not immediately, he can't do it immediately, but, like, in the future, once Ram is gone. That's, like, a rough thing that I need to give more respect to. So I think what I should have done is I should have gone for that goal. He probably gets 8 points. Yeah, actually, maybe I should have gone for the goal immediately, because this means if I go for the goal immediately, Shearer can't immediately score. We measured that as well at some point, maybe after this point. But if we go for it immediately, I get at least an activation to respond to Shearer. What do I do with that activation, though? Cinder's instructed, but she's not tooled up, so she can't kill Shearer right out. And that's the thing, is that, like, we just need a little bit more money. A little bit more setup before we can just, like, threaten to delete Shearer off the face of the earth. And we really need to be able to do that in one activation, because the activation between the two that it takes to do that, he's just going to score, right? So this is a tough spot for us, but I think in retrospect I should have gone for the goal here. All right. John Clough asked in chat, I didn't watch the whole turn. Did keeping cast alive feel more important than losing one inf? What were the last 2 activations for both sides? We'll get to the last 2 activations later, but, you know, John, I think I needed to commit to cast being alive more, which means she needs to have more influence. If I was going to give her 1 influence, I should not have played Punching Bag. I think that's the real answer, is that I sort of, like, waffled between 2 extremes. We either just, like, yeah, okay, fuck it, cast is dead. In which case we give her nothing and we don't play punching bag. Or we give her punching bag and give her stuff, give her 3 or 4, so that she actually gets work out of herself. Because, yeah, it doesn't feel like she did anything, and if she died this turn, she could come back on and help me kill Herder from the right side of my deployment. So that sucked. I think the one thing that is important to consider, though, is that if Cass didn't have Tough Hide, I think there's at least an outside chance that Herder gets a 6-point activation here. It's not, like, automatic or anything, but I think that if she gets a 6-point activation that involves killing Cass and scoring a goal, that's kind of Disaster Town for me. I think I just, like, straight up lose the points race. P-bad. Yeah, that's true, Pete, that, Shearer could snapshot off of Herder, but he has momentum issues here, at least in the short term, like the next couple activations, because I've knocked Herder down with Hearth. That was my first activation here, was to knock Herder down with Hearth and then instruct Cinder. So I think that's... Yes, the snapshot is in play, but I think by the time the snapshot would be in play, momentum-wise, Shearer should probably have a harvest to dodge anyway, so he can do it himself. That was my thinking. Oh no, we don't do a good job stopping the second goal. I remember what happens to the second goal. All right, whatever. We gotta get through this before we're here for another 3.5 hours. I should drink some water. This is a lot of talking. Okay, so... Alright, looks like I... Yeah, so Ally grabs the ball. So I've decided at this point to defend the ball, to kill it or whatever, to knock over the goal. Ally gets a Dirty Knives onto Herder and onto Lamb. I think we're just... The reason we go for Lamb is chip damage is nice on the planters, because at some point they become a pretty trivial kill without me having to like worry about it too much, and like clearing poison off of Lamb is a really weird use of momentum that probably would not ever come up. So we're sort of just going for the long plan here. We're like, okay, in the future, Lamb may be one of our last kills if we set it up with some poison. I think also having Dirty Knives on him is maybe a good place to put Cast's 1 influence of attack, because she's pretty likely to... She's like practically automatic to get her second column and be able to either shield glare Shearer, or if they manage to get the ball off of Alloy somehow, to knock it off of them with shield throw, or just to do a bit of damage to Shearer. I think I end up shield glaring Shearer, but I could be wrong about that. Okay, so Lamb... Yeah, so, Jesus, I can't even parse this, and I'm not going to try. Basically, Herder moved a bunch of fucking shit. And what she ends up doing is pushing Babe into engaging Cinder, which is very good, and pushing Shearer closer to Alloy. So this was a very good move from Zach. This gives me a lot of problems in the short term. I think cutting off Cinder's ability to charge is a really big deal, and it sort of makes me wonder whether Cinder should have been that far up, but like we discussed last turn, I think actually she should have been up farther. I think she should have been quick-footed and should have been hitting somebody. Was Impale worth it on Herder? Sort of hard to say. Herder is pretty beefy, just in terms of like literal HP total, so getting some chip damage on her is nice, even though she did clear the fire at some point. But obviously getting Shearer much closer to Alloy is the biggest deal here. The combo of those two effects from Ram, very strong. She also gets her harvests up, but that's whatever. Well, it's not whatever. I mean, it allows a dog... Not only does it allow Shearer to do his thing, but it also allows a dog to do a push if he wants to. So basically, he's like... See, this is the thing. Again, if I had more influence on Masters, then I can like fight this better. I have more positional control, I have better knockdowns, I have more momentum. Because I'm putting all this stuff on Alloy so he can like pretend to do stuff, I don't have a lot of control. I don't have a lot of ways to like bail Cinder out, make sure Cinder can charge again, make sure Cast gets Sentinel and gets a stagger on an opponent or something. Like there's a... Get more knockdowns from Bolt. Yeah, this... I wasn't feeling it at the time, but like throughout this, it really feels like the draft is haunting me here. Okay. When did Ferris go over there? Ferris, what are you doing? What are you doing, buddy? How did Ferris go over there? Oh, right, okay. So Ferris goes in there to block Shearer because Shearer is a dodge-only model. He has plenty of dodges, especially if he has a Harvest, but he does not have any way to move other models, so Ferris there stops him in the short term. And then Zach manages to get both dogs to get pushes onto Ferris by eating Harvest. So at least I use up some Harvests to get Shearer over there. I don't think that that's like I mean, obviously I'd like it if Shearer just didn't touch Alloy, but if he's going to have to touch Alloy, then we'll make it as expensive as possible, which I think we did here, so that was good. And expending Harvest markers when all Ferris did is a jog, I think that was good. Okay. So, did I shield glare the pig? That's dumb. I should have just shield glared Shearer so he has less tack, don't you think? I don't know. Maybe it's fair to say that doesn't really actually make a huge difference either way. Cast ends up going back here, intentionally taking a parting blow from Shearer so that Shearer can't hit her and dodge off of her while standing still. But I think in retrospect, oh no, Cast. Okay, that's what Cast did. Cast didn't do a shield glare or anything. Cast did not make an attack. Cast sprinted to kill the Harvest markers from Shearer. But then once Cast did that, if Cast could have, she needed to get back in front of Shearer or stay engaging him, because what I accidentally allowed him to do, this was bad, yeah, she needed to stay engaging him. What it allowed him to do is charge Hearth, go past Hearth and charge her, which gets him into Alloy anyway. So we killed the Harvest, but it don't really matter none. So wait. Huh. Okay. Wait, we're gonna play this because I don't understand the momentum expenditure here. So, oh yeah. Okay, so he spends because he's at 2 momentum, he cannot stand up Herder and then do a snapshot here, which would be his only way to take a shot here. So, given that, what he does is he spends both of his momentum to stand up Herder and then still passes to her, but just to dodge her away, just so that she's harder to reach by Cinder. I think that was a pretty good compromise, because it still feels like Herder's going to get another goal, or at least I'm going to have to work pretty hard to make Herder not get a goal. Cinder hits the pig a bunch of times, kills the pig. There was a point where I was trying to figure out if dodging off of the pig with my first attack would get me into range to charge Herder, which would have been great, but that didn't happen. I could have maybe dodged twice off of the pig and charged Herder. Maybe that would have been better in retrospect. The other thing I was worried about was the... Well, no. Never mind. I wasn't worried about the counterattack because he ain't got momentum. So, maybe it would have been better to just, like, dodge, but I believe on my first hit I did not get the double dodge. Let me check here. How do I get... Go back. Jesus, did my activation take this long? Oh, wait a sec. Yeah, I was thinking about it for a while, huh? Oh, right, yeah. Okay, so Cinder whiffs her first attack. She has instructions, so she does get to hit, but that basically kills that idea, because she would need, like, 3 inches of dodge, so 2 inches of dodge on the first attack, and then 1 inch of dodge on the second attack is the most likely version of that. She whiffs that, so she decides to just kill the pig instead. Zach has no influence or activations left on the table, so giving a love creature doesn't matter. And also, since I've killed a dog, killing the pig actually is important because it gets me into an even number of victory points. So then Cinder just runs over there. Okay, so with me up 5, I could have played Break the Knives here, Break Out the Knives, but I go for aggressive defense so I get more influence instead. I think that's fine. This is where we do Hearth's Legendary. Okay, so... So basically what I do here is Hearth Legendaries gets instruction on all 3 apprentices. So we've made sure to give at least a little bit of influence to all the apprentices. I don't hate this allocation, though again, allies kind of make me sad, but whatever. And then Hearth knocks down Shearer, then attacks Herder, pushes her because I missed the tackle in the first one, then gets the tackle, then knocks her down, then pushes to ally. Or passes to ally. All of that, I think that was correct. The bad part is what we do with the pass. So, I think I'm cool here and do some match experience stuff where Hearth and alloy dodge. Alloy dodging away from my goal and away from Herder. Very good. We like to see it. Makes it so that hopefully you can't get a goal in the first activation. But I dodged Herder, or I dodged, was I saying Herder that whole time? Hearth. I dodged Hearth towards Alloy in order to keep him within the 2-inch melee aura, but that's stupid for 2 reasons. One, it's stupid because it gives Herder a larger area to walk by to get closer to Alloy before she has to take a parting blow or dodge off of Hearth or whatever the fuck. 2, it's stupid because Herder just has push dodges all day, so the Alloy being in the 2-inch melee aura, it doesn't fucking matter unless he's like way into it. He needs to be at least like within an inch of it, if not further, to make sure that he can get his sick instruction counterattack. So I thought I was being super clever in the moment by giving him the ball and an instruction 2-inch melee counterattack for very efficient and keeping him away from a goal. But actually, that was executed very poorly. Hearth should have either not moved or moved left to restrict Herder and Shearer's movement further. So that sucks. The good news is I can't remember if this one involved really lucky dice or if the math just didn't work out. I think she might have missed an attack or something. But anyway, that's not important really. What's important is that she wasn't able to get the goal. So where does the ball end up? She passes it to Crook up there. So I think passing it to Crook is pretty good. I'm just trying to keep it away from me. I think so. The way I allocated to Alloy here. I think that's fine because I am going to get instruction to him, and he can walk back in to get 2-inch melee, so he's probably going to do good work here. So this is not a turn where I'm like furious about Alloy or anything, but I still think Ferris should have maybe gotten an influence. I don't know. I'm trying to think about if during allocation I could have predicted where the ball would end up in 2 activations, because I think this is actually the best point for me to take a goal. I definitely think at some point during the game I should have taken a goal earlier than when I tried to. No question about it. And maybe the Alloy one last turn was correct, but looking at this is like the moment where Ferris should grab a goal. And actually, there's some debate about whether Hook is engaging her. I think we decided that she was engaged by Hook, which makes it a little bit harder. Makes it a lot harder. But he still needs to get all hits to knock her down on a parting blow, because his knockdown's on 4. But anyway, it's just like, so I got a bunch of momentum here too. So I can glide or something. Yeah, it feels like this would be the best time to take a goal, because then I get to 6 points, and then he goes up to 8. But if he goes up to 8, he loses Shearer. If he goes up to 8 immediately, he loses Shearer, right? Yeah. I don't really know if there would have been a way for me to predict that the ball would be in a spot where Ferris could take a pretty good goal during allocation. It seems pretty unlikely that I'd be able to predict that. I don't know. Okay, so it would be nice to have an influence or 2 on Ferris, but I'm not sure that we can like strictly call that like an error. Okay, so anyway, after Herder went, Vetzinder went into Shearer. Vetzinder could have also maybe, where's Vetzinder here? No, Vetzinder was way down. What am I saying? Yeah, she was down there. So she can't get to the ball as long as Crook gets the ball, which is probably why Zach put the ball there. And Cast is engaged by 2 2-inch melee people, so she can't get to that without a full clip. Again, if we had a full clip on her, she maybe gets a goal, but again, hard to predict that that's where the ball would be. So I think it was a good spot to put the ball for Zach. So Cinder goes into Shearer. I think there was a reasonable likelihood that we kill Shearer here. We miss it by 1 point, or 1 HP. So that sucks, but that's still okay. I mean, I would have liked to not have to spend more influence and activations on killing him, but at least what we're looking at here is like a pretty clear fork. In that if he wants to go for the goal, I kill Shearer. And if he activates Shearer to save him, then he doesn't really get much out of Shearer because Shearer doesn't have a way to take the ball off of Crook. So Shearer would get to spend that influence, but would not really do anything with it. I guess the question for Zach is whether delaying the goal makes it more likely for me to get the ball away from him. Cast could knock it off with a shield throw. That's pretty much it. It doesn't feel that threatening, honestly. Oh, excuse me. I sort of think, well, okay, so if Zach decides to delay the goal, what is he doing with that? Is he actually activating the 1 HP Shearer, standing up and making 4 attacks at -1 tech? Doesn't seem great. It seems fine. I think maybe it's better if Zach actually does do that. I don't know. But anyway, what he does is he takes the goal with the dogs. There's like an execution error here, so let's take a look at the positioning here. So the broad stroke is correct, but Zach tries to get too cute with it. So this is where the dogs end up. I'm pretty positive that they're within 3 inches of each other, so that Crook could pass to Hook, getting the tap-in bonus. So it'd be 2 dice needing a 4. Or you could go up to 3 dice needing a 4, either with momentum or by getting into Football Legend. What Zach does instead is so Crook dodges away and then jogs forward down to that spot there. Within Football Legend, so he's a 7-inch kick. Or sorry, Hook does that. I don't know if I said Crook or Hook. And then Crook comes down here and passes for a snapshot. The snapshot ends up working, but like he didn't need to take the snapshot. He could have just taken a pass, had Hook dodge out, and then had Hook take a normal goal. But that's life. So he gets it anyway. So he's at 8 points, and we kick the ball up here. Ferris gets it. Alloy gets 2-inch melee from the aura and instruction, and trivially kills Shearer, even though I think Shearer got healed. Maybe not. Oh no, I'm sorry. Shearer doesn't get healed, so Alloy also swings on her. So we're at this weird game state. Yeah. So this is something... I think this is just me... Yeah, so I have a 1 billion momentum here. I'm 9-1 momentum. So this is where I was talking to Pat this morning, which made me decide to do this analysis stream. And Pat was watching at the time, and this is where Pat thought I should take a goal. Because I have 1 billion momentum to do it, and Ferris can kick for free with her legendary since she just has the ball. I think this is just me being, I'm going to chalk this out to just me being sort of out of practice with Blacksmiths. I didn't really think about the free goal from Ferris, or maybe I considered it briefly but decided against it or something, but whether I forgot about it mechanically or decided against it strategically, I don't really remember, but either way, I was wrong. This is definitely where we take the goal because he has no influence to respond to the position of the ball, which is a big deal. So that means that like Cast might actually be able to pick it up again or like knock it out of somebody and get another goal. I think that my win condition here, looking at this again, so I'm at 4 points here. My win condition should be a goal here and then a goal at the top of next turn. Yeah. Yeah. I think that's really correct. I think that like all the other mistakes I made leading up to this point, and of course Zach's bad dice, turn 1 and the top of turn 2, I think I still a really clear path to victory right here if I just take that goal. Yeah. Well, that really sucks. These are the type of things that I wish. Yeah, I mean, like this is like a. It's like what am I trying to say here? This is like a high level miss. It's like a miss of a strategical plan rather than a tactical plan. I always feel like my tactics are pretty good, but my strategy kind of suck ass. But yeah. There was a very clear path right here because this ball scattered to Ferris. Oh wait, or did Ferris have to move to take it? Hang on. She has the ball now. Where did the ball come from? Show me the ball. Okay. Blah blah blah. All this nonsense. All this fucking shit. Yeah, it just like goes right to Ferris. And then Lamb goes here. Yeah, if there was a snowball's chance in hell that Ferris could get around to that. Otherwise, she should just pass it to Cass for free, and then Cass scores the goal. Either way, this turn should have ended with a goal for me, and me on 8 points, and him having to kick the ball either somewhere very precarious to threaten his own goal, which I think would be pretty stupid, or he has to kill the ball and try to fight me, and then we're 8-8. 8-8, no ball in play. I'm Blacksmiths. He's Shepherds. Yeah. Yeah, this is where the win should have come from. All right, well, whatever. That's life. But that's like a really important thing to think about, because this is like, obviously I'm playing a guild that skews more tickets and goals, and I'm playing a list that skews more tickets and goals. But you really have to practice with yourself to be open to wins that come to you in this way, and I think this is like the moment for it. Okay. Oh, and it's worth talking about from Zach's perspective. Sorry, I'm like doing all sorts of shit. I'm just like skipping through everything. Okay. Anyway, it's worth talking about from Zach's perspective. Maybe that means he should have delayed the goal more. But again, Cass is threatening to knock the ball off of the dogs, and while that might not matter, it also might be a catastrophe. He doesn't get the goal anymore, so that's something to consider. But yeah, that really should have been my route. Alright, so this is where I play Break Out the Knives because I have a billion momentum, and Hearth is not really in a position to have like a super meaningful activation, so my influence is all going to be on people that get Break Out the Knives, probably. Looks like I put one on Hearth, but you know what I'm saying. I mean, this is like the time that you play Break Out the Knives. There's nothing really special to say about that. What did he do? Show me the card, Zach. Oh, fucking... He just moved away immediately? Zach, show me the fucking card. Boot sponsorship. Oh, okay. He's just trying to get around the fucking forest. There. Yeah, because I'm holding the ball in the forest, so he needs to deal with that. Okay. Oof, I'm getting tired. Okay, so Cinder opens the turn by killing Herder. His allocation is the typical thing where Herder is jailed, but still gets max influence because the rest of her team is going to get max influence if she dies. This is just a circumstance where you have to take that risk because Herder is really threatening to score the goal to win the game. So his team gets all the influence, so I go up to 7 points. 7 points? Where did I get the other point? Oh, I killed a dog again. Alright, cool. Then Cinder Grim Vengeances to dodge in front of Ferris to be kind of a pain in the ass with her 2-inch melee. Cinder has an interesting thing where her parting blows can't knock down, so they don't see that threatening at first, but they light stuff on fire, which is kind of cool because it might screw up your speed and stuff since you can't clear it in the middle of your movement. So native Searing Strike models like Furnace and Vetcinder and Stoker are nice in that way to block stuff, although only Vetcinder really uses it crazily well, or everybody in Furnace is legendary because Furnace and Stoker have good knockdowns. So basically he's just trying to get the ball off of Ferris and go score. He's kind of tunneled on that, though he definitely has outs of pushing people off, which I believe he ends up taking here, because I do a decent job of defending the ball. So here he's planning, it looked like he was speculating on a dog activation. Does he do the dog activation here? Oh no, Lamb went and got a weak point on Ferris. Right, because he bonus timed up to his 4 dice and then got them all. Yeah, okay. And then he also gets a harvest down. Ferris hits lamb. So this is a situation. So another reason that it was important to take that goal last turn is that now I really can't. Because now I think I spend a lot of non-existent clock time speculating about this Ferris activation, trying to figure out how to kill Shearer's ability to dodge with a harvest. And what ends up happening is Ferris sprints and glides to kill the top 3 harvests after much deliberation, uses an influence to push Shearer away from the other harvest so he can't immediately take it without moving or making an attack or something, and then using her legendary to kick ball to space. So I lose access to my most efficient striker in order to do this. And my idea here is that we're gonna get 1 more point somehow. We're gonna kill Babe again, or we're gonna kill one of the dogs, and then Ferris is gonna go score this ball. We have 2 problems. 1, Shearer might be able to get to the ball, but 2, most importantly, Herder's going to come back and try to get the ball, which it scatters in such a way where that's pretty doable for Herder. Yeah, it ends up there because it scatters, I think, past the goal and then hits the goal there. So obviously that's in range of Herder coming back on the field, but we just have to deal with that. I think that like playing the long game here is good because he needs to get 2 real takeouts and or get the ball to my goal, but the ball is way closer to his goal, and I only need to get one fake takeout in order to win off of a goal, and he has 3 fake takeout models available to me, all with like lowish health, 2 dogs and a pig. So this feels like really my best out, in my opinion, once we get to this point, and I think I basically played this correctly. I don't think this was wrong. I think maybe if I'm going to kick the ball like that anyway, I maybe don't need to pull Shearer away from the harvest. No, I still think it's pretty good because it also means that he's worse at getting back to the ball too. So yeah, I think that's right. Okay. Really wish I didn't have the weak point on her though. That is a pain in the ass. Maybe another thing to think about. Oh, okay. So then I remember thinking about this now. So at first I thought that I didn't have to kill the 2 harvests next to lamb. But then I decided I did have to do that because they make it harder for the dog to do their stupid shit. So that was really important, was like at least making it more expensive and time consuming for the dogs to push somebody off the pitch, because I'm sort of thinking that it's inevitable at some point. And yeah, they do that. So Hook goes around cast, takes a parting blow, push on Vetzinder. Crook does a push on Vetzinder, then walks up and smacks Vetzinder off the pitch. So Zach gets 10 points. Okay. And now, yeah. So this is the only argument for Alloy in the whole goddamn game. This is really good. This is like, once again, playing to my out where I get a fake takeout followed by a goal in the late game because I've positioned the ball such that it's much more threatening for his goal than my goal. Ally activates, smacks the knockdown lamb 4 times, gets 4 dirty knives to kill Babe, who is on 4 HP. That looks like it says 1. No, it's just small. It's 4. Okay. Yeah, so Ally goes up here. Smacks him 4 times, kills him. Alright, cool. So that gets me into goal range. That gets me to 8 points. That is like, I think seeing that opportunity and taking it is probably one of the better things that I did in this game. One of the things that like I think was strategically sound. And identifying that the very specific win condition of a 1 point takeout followed by a goal. So these 2 activations that I did, Ferris and Alway, I think given the circumstances, this turn was played well by me. I think I really wish, like in retrospect, leading up to this point, my play was not great, and on a high level, strategical level, had a lot of errors. But I think I'm playing to my outs well here. Okay, so all right, so there's like. Okay, so sure, it hits Ferris a couple times, blah, blah, blah. It doesn't get to the ball. I think I remember I think I remember thinking he could have gotten closer, but I didn't measure it out exactly to know whether he could have definitely gotten to the ball. And arguably, because Herder's counterattack is better than Shearer's, he actually doesn't want to take the ball with Shearer. He wants to wait till Herder can get it, since there's no way this turn that I'm getting to the ball, right? So, I think maybe... Oh, looking at this again, though. Okay. I actually do see something that I should have done, though. Yeah, so back up. Show me Alloy's position. Okay, so this is where Alloy was when he was killing Babe. Alloy should have actually back to the shadows forward, chasing the ball. I just needed more threats on the ball, because like if I lose somebody, I just lose the game anyway, right? So who fucking cares if my models are threatened? Because I'm like at this point confident in my momentum, in like at least like doing okay momentum wise. So yeah, Alloy should have been going further forward because Alloy does threaten the ball pretty decently. And then there's a question about whether Ferris or Alloy is better for the job when I get to that point. But since Alloy dodges back, it's only Ferris that can go for this. So yeah, I think I just have to like fully commit to the goal being my out here and move Alloy forward. Okay, cool. Anyway, blah blah blah. Sure does his thing. Talked about that already. Those harvests aren't real, just to be clear. Those are just like his pool of harvests. It's not real stuff. Okay, so I think here I start to just like move my models up to try to engage people. Yeah, and so Ram goes for Alloy, which doesn't really matter, but the thing that does matter... Oh no, this is the next turn. Alright, well, whatever. He's pushing people around, and what I do is cast Infernus, move up to engage Ram, and I'm like, sort of by reflex, keeping them together so that Cast gets Sentinel, right? Cast getting Sentinel, not a problem, certainly. Them engaging him. The thing about engaging Ram is like, again, my out has to be the goal. I need to commit to this. Even if my out is not the goal, it's really fucking not going to be killing Ram. This is I think my experience playing against Shepherds here, but there's really like no point surrounding Ram. If Ram can literally move, if she doesn't have to spend her movement to stand up, then any amount of like crowding around Ram is just not going to work. So like there's no point in doing this. There's no point in like trying to set up gang ups to kill Ram next turn or the turn after or something. It's just a goofy idea. It's just fake. So really Furnace and Caster just been like walking past her to try to go hit Lamb or to get closer to the ball or to try to kill the dogs or whatever the fuck. It just should not have been doing this, right? Okay. So I have a bunch of momentum again. He plays Raw Enthusiasm, I play to the crowd. I think Zach, well, so I would have to ask him about this, because he might have been playing Raw Enthusiasm with no intent of using the effect, just because it's low carb with a +1 influence, right? But if he was very mistaken if he thought that Shearer was actually threatened. Ferris is not going to do 9 damage to him, and also at 3 influence cap is no way he's going to push her off the pitch. Probably wouldn't even with 5 influence if she was my captain. Anyway, this allocation is relatively straightforward. I load up Ferris. The rest of the stuff almost doesn't matter. It's just getting momentum if I don't get the goal score. Okay, so Ferris needs to... Oh, right. So Herder takes the ball here, stays in cover. Ferris can charge her and get to a point where she'll be in the tap-in range for the goal, but since she only gets 3 influence... Herder is free to counterattack, which I believe is what he does, right? Yeah, free to counterattack. And so Ferris needs to wrap. So I get if I wrap, I would get the 1-inch push and the tackle, and then I can take the shot. I believe I miss it by 1, maybe 2. 9 dice, 5 hits. Yeah, I needed 1 more 4. That happens. So what I do is I end up knocking her down. Ball gets knocked back to there. Then I hit her again to push her. The push, it's a 2-inch push. I don't really think it matters the direction I went, but I put her over there. Okay, so we missed that goal. That would have been the win if we get it. Sorry, to be clear, didn't miss the goal. Missed the wrap charge to get the opportunity for the goal. But that's pretty unlikely. 6 4s on 9 dice, not great. I'm gonna try to blow through this endgame because I'm getting pretty tired, but I don't want to like leave the game in the middle of it. Okay. Okay. So let's look at this again though, because this was a mechanical error from Zach that I noticed. So let me check the chat right quick. Okay. So Zach's thinking that his best out here is to kill Ferris with Herder, because that's where he's got 6 influence. So, like, makes sense to me, right? You're gonna gang up Ferris as much as possible, smash her a bunch of times, probably go last first with Herder, kill Ferris. Totally reasonable plan. Because I had plenty of momentum for counterattacks, I actually think it would have made more sense for Hook and Crook to, instead of doing what Zach ends up doing, which is like pushing Ferris laterally towards them, which is where she ends up here, right? They should have just pushed her straight up, like just towards the ball. And then rather than doing damage, Herder should have just tried to push Ferris off the pitch. I think you can get a Shearer card out, so you deal with the cover and you try to hit the knockdown, and then you just push her off the pitch. Because, like, okay, so let's see if we can get a spot. All right, so that is where Ferris was, right at the start. That aura is 3 inches, so that's 1 push. So we probably have to go to a little bit of an angle to make sure Crook can actually hit her with the second push. But once he, like, if he gets to exactly the same spot that he is now in this, like, 3rd proxy up by Shearer, Hook pushes, like, diagonally, sort of towards Shearer, sort of between towards Shearer and towards the goal. And then Crook pushes her another 3 inches. She can't be more than 3 inches from the goal, from the edge. And she might even be a clean 2. So, yeah. Okay, well, she's not a clean 2 because of where she is with the deployment line. But still, she'd be under 3 inches. So there's, like, no way Herder doesn't shove her off the pitch, right? I think that's, like, more automatic than trying to go for a kill. And also it removes my ability to, like, try to mitigate it with momentum by, like, healing her or standing her up or whatever, because she'll be too far away to stand up and the knockdown will happen during Herder's activation, and healing doesn't matter because she's being pushed off the pitch. So I actually think Zach screwed up here and should have tried to push her off the back of the pitch. Alloy stands her. Did Alloy stand her up? What was that? Oh no, Ally heals her, right, because she took some damage from the dogs. We try to crit out Ram, which is a stupid idea. Cast and Furnace get knocked away, like I was saying. Super annoying. We keep trying to wail on these... planters. First, I think hitting Ram is sort of futile in general, but we still want to hit planters in a broad sense because I just need momentum at this point because I just want to win. Okay, so last probably big strategical thing. We look at his cards here. He's got 4 cards showing and he has 2 left. He has Boot Sponsorship or Enthusiasm, give me 110%, and Pick Up the Pace showing. So he has played a 6 and a 5 at places where he wanted to win momentum. We know that, right? I'm still holding my 7. What this hand tells me is that he probably doesn't have the other 7. Either he didn't see it or he didn't take it. I didn't see it. But like looking at this and thinking about the fact that he's played other high cards when he really wanted to win initiative and not like taken the most automatic cards and stuff like that, that tells me that he probably doesn't have the 7. I'm also getting a little desperate here, obviously, because things are looking dire. So I think to myself, I'm like, okay, what I think I have a 6 and a 7, so he can't have the other 6, and I don't think he has the other 7, which means his other highest card is the other 5. So I just need to be 2 momentum up on him at the end of this turn to at least force to roll off. Right? Makes sense to me. So that's what I spend the rest of this turn doing. At some point early in this turn I realized that, and I spend the rest of the turn trying to be exactly 2 momentum up. Which I think I end up doing. Yeah, although there was a chance for me to be okay. Alright, so I don't actually execute it perfectly because there's a point where he could have been 1 momentum down, but he ends up being 2 momentum down. So we teamed up for that to happen. Or I'm sorry, I keep saying I need to be 2 momentum up. I need to be 2 momentum down. I need to be no more than 2 momentum below him. And yeah, he tries to he does something here. Oh yeah, he was like really focused on like, was it bonus? Yeah, he was like bonus timing stuff to try to get the 2 damage on my mark, the momentous 2 damage on my mark. So like net plus 2 momentum or something, but like, oh no, he wasn't bonus timing because I'm knocked down. There was something odd about the way he did this where I thought it was kind of greedy to try to go for that, but I don't know what it could have been. Did he take a... Oh, he took the on my mark push dodge to push into getting more dice, just so he could, even though the on my mark push dodge is unmomentous, just so he could hopefully get the 2 damage on my mark in the future. And I think he hits it 1 out of the 2 or 3 times he swung for it, so he ends up plus 2 momentum. He plays his highest card, which is Mudslide. I play Risky Play. So I was right about that, even though I don't think I executed it perfectly. And I win the roll-off, because better lucky than good, right? Okay, so Ferris is knocked down, so she can't really go for a goal run here. Oh yeah, so what we do is we... Oh, before that, I should say, I should point out Cast's activation. So she gets all the way from here. She jogs up past Ram, hits Ram once for 2 inches of dodge, hits Ram again for 4 inches of dodge, hits Hook once for a shield glare and damage, gets the shield glare on Herder, and then dodges away from engagement from Hook. Cast is a pretty good model. Though, again, my reflex for saving her was wrong here. Since we were in dire straits and trying to get the goal still, Cast should have just been engaging Hook. Ugh. She should have stayed engaging Hook so that she could bounce off of him at the start of the next turn. There's no reason not to do that. She's not going to kill... Well, I guess we wanted to not be engaged because we didn't want Hearth to turn and go and kill Cast instead with the +1 die from Hook. Okay, I guess that's fine. I guess we don't want to just get Cast killed all fucking anticlimactically after he spent all this time trying to go for Ferris. Okay, it's fine to disengage. She should have been farther up, though. Yeah, she should have been farther up. Okay. Anyway, I win this silly roll-off. And we continue to try to play. And what we end up doing is Cast sprints around, hits Herder once to bounce off of her. No, jogs around? Yeah, jogs around, taking a parting blow from the dog, which doesn't hit the knockdown by 1. I just have to let him roll the parting blow, and he misses it by 1. Then Cast ends up here with 4 influence, dodges 2 inches, hits Shearer. Okay, right. So, Cast has 3 influence, and 1 momentum, but I think I might bonus in this. Well, anyway, 1 momentum, and I am currently within range of the goal. Tackles on 3. The question for you, stream, is should Shearer counterattack the first attack or the second attack? Shearer's already shield glared, by the way, just to be clear. So I can theoretically either tackle on the first or second attack. If he counterattacks on the first attack, then I don't want to tackle on the first attack. I just want to get closer to him, because my tackle's on momentous. So we don't bet on hitting it again. We just dodge into engagement. Into base to base, so we can't dodge away. Right? If he tackles on the second attack, and I already have the ball from the first attack, then he is kind of screwed, because hopefully I'll just dodge 2 inches away. But if he tackles on the second attack, and I did not get the tackle on the first attack, then he has an opportunity to take the ball back from me if I tackle on the second attack. So the correct option for Shearer is to take the tackle on the second attack. Excuse me, not the tackle. Take the counter attack on the second attack. Zach opts to take it on the first attack, so he makes an error there. So I dodge into base, I think. Yeah, I dodge into base here. And then I make my next, and his counterattack, I don't know, it does 2 damage because I don't have the ball, so it doesn't do anything. And then my second attack, yeah, his next attack, yep. So my second attack, I miss the tackle. So I miss three threes on 5 dice. So I take my next best thing, which is I do the 4 damage to him and knock the ball off. But because I can knock the ball off first and then get my 4 inches of dodge, unfortunately it scatters 1 inch, so Shearer is just able to pick it back up. And I can't even contest because it's outside of cast. So Shearer picks it back up. Yeah, so here's the scatter. Ends up right there. Obviously, Cast can't contest, and Ferris also can't contest because she's knocked down, but I wouldn't try to do that anyway, because it being on Ferris doesn't do anything. So basically, I just needed to scatter somewhere that was within 3 inches of Cast, but not within 1 inch of Shearer, or within 5 inches of Cast directly towards the goal. Those are the 2 options. So Cast has a lot of options and a lot of like ways to play around unusual circumstances and scatters and stuff like this. And being able to dodge 4 inches on 2 once per activation is really strong. Used it a lot in this game, but comes down to the wire here, and I do not get the perfect scatter that I'm looking for. Shearer picks the ball back up, and I concede because the Herder's just going to automatically kill Ferris or Cast. So that's the game. I think, like we talked about ad nauseum, I wasn't particularly happy with my my first couple turns. I think I picked it up a bit in the last few turns, but there's still room for improvement there, and it wasn't quite enough. I didn't get even though I want to roll off and stuff, I needed just a little bit more luck on one of my 2 goal runs. This one and the one with Ferris the previous turn. So yeah, I think the big takeaway is I definitely think Alloy should have been Bolt. I think the whole character of the game changes, and I also think it's worth considering trying Ferry Captain. I think I liked Hearth Captain here, but Ferry Captain's sort of interesting in King perspective, for sure. And then the other thing is gotta think broad strokes about like the push and pull of goals better, and know when it's my opportunity to take goals and when that's my like best out. I got really lucky this game, honestly. Zach had really bad dice, and then I want to roll off and stuff, but wasn't quite enough because I really didn't set myself up for success in the first 2 turns. And yeah, I think that's about it. Okay, cool. Everybody who's still in the chat, thanks so much for watching. Oh, that's right. Sure needs to counter first, otherwise you just bounce away or shoot a 3-die shot. Well, wait, bounce away? I disagree with that, John. But yeah, 3-die shot. Yeah, I guess you're right. He has to counter. Well, then I don't think the counter actually matters, does it? It doesn't matter. I guess it only matters. You guys are right. Yeah, my bad. All right. Well, then Zach did that right. But does it? I guess it only matters if Cast just straight up misses an attack, right? All right. I should read this for people who are watching this afterwards. Pete Williamson, John Clough, and Nate Crane. Nate Horn, excuse me, not Nate Crane. Nate Horn. No, Nate, I know I bounce away, but if I bounce away on the first attack, then I just don't have the ball. What? Oh, sorry, Jesus. Yeah, okay, Kevin. Yeah, sorry. Okay. P. Williamson, Kevin Stewart, and Nate Horn all simultaneously told me that Shearer did need to counterattack on the first one, and they're right, because if I just get the tackle, I can immediately take the shot or bounce away on the second attack. So yeah, or just don't even attack. Yeah, that was what I thought you guys meant, is just not attack. That's what I was picturing as soon as you guys said it. So yeah, never mind, I'm a dumbass. Ignore that whole thing about when when Zach has to attack from earlier. You guys are right, I'm wrong. Which is why I lost again. Okay, yeah. Thanks for listening, guys.